What's going on, sports fan? My name is D.
This is Cam.
Hey, and we gonna be two guys in the ball. We're gonna be talking about everything that's basketball, football, anything that got to do with a ball. We're gonna be talking about it. We're gonna be talking about the world in general. Just give our thoughts on it. We're gonna throw in some 2K material. We got some different things we want to just talk about in the gaming world and everything like that. So, with that being said, this is our very first show. Very first show, man. We've been quarantined, so we got our quarantine beards. You see the quarantine.
Yes,
Got the quarantine cuts, not being cut. So we sitting around the house like, you know what, man, let's give these people what they want. We got to give them what they want, Cam. So I said, let's do this, man. So today, we're going to be talking today on the podcast. We're going to talk about a little basketball. We're going to go basketball first. And so with that being said, the first question I want to ask, does the performance that Chris Paul has been putting on, did that change the narrative about him being a playoff bust? That's the question I want to ask first.
that's a tough question, man. He really dragged this team, this OKC team that nobody really saw making the playoffs, kind of being a lottery pick team. He dragged them into the postseason, and then they had a lot of good pieces around him, and Steven Adams is always Steven Adams. And he had a lot of young guys around him. But Chris Paul dragged this team into the postseason.
Yes, he did.
He was one of the clutchest players down the stretch, like all year long. I think OKC, they have like a stat for clutch wins. I think OKC led the league in clutch wins this year. I mean, Chris Paul was doing something. But there are 8 teams that make the playoffs. And Chris Paul is supposed to be a championship level point guard. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? I would say first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. Great point guard. I don't think this playoff performance changes the narrative especially because they didn't get out the first round. And if you look at the way that Game 7 ended, Chris Paul, the ball should have never left his hand. He had he did an interview with ESPN, maybe like 2 or 3 games before that Game 7, where he was saying some people are just built for this. He was talking about his performance, and he's like Game 4 or Game 5 at the end of the game. And he said some people are just built for this and some people not. So is Chris Paul built for it? Because that Game 7, that last possession, that should have been him taking that shot. I know sometimes you want to make the right basketball play, but championship players make championship plays.
You know what? I would agree. I think that Chris Paul should have been taking that ball out. If you ask me, that last play of the game, when Shai Gilgeous, whatever his name is, when he kissed Steven Adams over the top, when they got that Paul screen, I think Chris Paul would have made that pass.
Yep.
Now, I see if you want to get a taller guy to take the ball out because they can see over the defense or whatever, but I think Chris Paul could have got that pass off and he would have made that pass. Does this change the narrative for Chris Paul? I think Chris Paul is a great leader. A great leader. I think between him and LeBron, if I had to choose one of those guys to be the leader of my team, I'm choosing Chris Paul all day.
Oh, yeah, no
doubt. But if I want to choose a guy to get me through to the next round, I'm not choosing Chris Paul. I'm not choosing Chris Paul. Listen, I'm not choosing Chris Paul. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater by saying I want to choose Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a great leader. But for some reason, he's allergic to the next going to the. He's allergic. He is. Playoffs come. He get hurt, or he doesn't make it. I can't take him. I can't take him.
I agree.
It doesn't.
Because I think that if the year that Chris Paul got hurt in the Western Conference Finals against Golden State, if Chris Paul is hurt, they beat that Golden State team.
That's a different game because it was 3-2. They was up 3-2, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Right. So Now, do they beat the Cavs? I have no idea because that Cavs team, I don't know. I think the Warriors were the only team in the league that was going to beat that Cavs team in 7 games.
Yeah.
But getting out of the West is half the battle anyway. So just getting there changes Chris Paul's legacy already.
Yeah.
But the fact that he could never get there. All those great Clippers teams he played on, he just couldn't get there, and that's gonna be the stain, unfortunately,
That's
on
true.
his career. Is he just was
Can't make
he
it over
a
the
great?
top.
He can't make it over the top. Great point guard, but he's just not a championship point guard, and that's
Agreed.
it's just tough, man. Because Chris
Agreed.
Paul has done so much for the game of basketball and for the league. And I do think he's in the upper echelon of point guards, but his playoff record and his I don't know, man.
Yeah, my hat's off to him because he cook everybody who get in front of him, but he can't make it through. Now, Chris Paul is one of the older guards. You said the upper echelon of guards. I want to talk about Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell. Have you been seeing the show these guys have been putting on?
You know what's crazy, man, is I actually thought that was going to be a real boring series.
Yeah.
I figured it would go 7,
yeah.
But I just figured it would be boring because the Nuggets run their offense through everybody. During the regular season, they didn't really have anybody that was doing their thing like that. And the Jazz play this methodical, like slow brand of basketball.
Yeah, they're boring. They're boring. That's what
they're just boring. They're just a terrible basketball team to watch. And man, it sucks because Mitchell's performances were overshadowed by Jamal Murray.
Yes, sir.
Mitchell had some like crazy performances, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, and both of them got nicks. Both of them got nicks. Man, both of them boys
no doubt.
The ones, man. Them boys are ones, man. But I'll tell you what, Jamal Murray, I think Jamal Murray different, man. I think he's a little bit different, man. He got that thing about him, man. That like that. When I see him play, even when I watched him play when he played for Kentucky, when I saw him in the McDonald All-American game, I'm like, oh man, this guy got that it factor, man. I think he was not what's coming up next, man. And like just see him operate like he was operating in these games, man. I'm talking about in that game 6, I want to say, when he hit that unconscious 3 coming down on the break. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like you said, Donovan Mitchell is not a slouch. He's not a slouch. But he just couldn't outshine Jamal Murray.
And I think it helped that because top to bottom, the Nuggets definitely had a better team.
Yeah.
Like hands down. And under normal circumstances, I would be more impressed with Donovan Mitchell's performance because of what Donovan Mitchell had to work with.
Yeah.
But man, Jamal Murray, man, oh my God.
Hold on. Donovan Mitchell got Rudy Gobert. He was like the reigning defensive player of the year or so. I mean, he had what? How many defensive player of the years he got?
Right. And I'm not saying that he's a slouch, but if you look at the West and how the West is built, if you look at all the big men in the West on like the elite teams, those big men are so versatile. What does Rudy Gobert do outside of play defense?
That's true. That's true.
If they're not running pick and roll with him, there's no offense. If he happens to be on the perimeter to kind of get the guard some space in, you don't even have to guard him out there because he's not gonna hit a 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you got Joe Ingles. I mean, he didn't show up really. He's a nice player.
Yeah, and if Bogdanovich would have played, I think that the Jazz could have potentially won that series.
Yeah.
But Bogdanovich being hurt, when they blew that 3-1 lead, I wasn't surprised because I don't think they should have been up 3-1 to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they should have been either. Yeah. But the Nuggets are up and coming, man. They got some young, powerful players, man. Like, man, they got some young guns, man.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing those guys develop. A guy that we didn't really see in the playoffs, but we saw him in the bubble games, play-in games. Bo. I'm interested. I'm interested in seeing him get up there, man, and him get up there with what's my man name? Number one player in high school. Little one walking about. Number one player in high school. Went to Missouri. Man, I can't think of his name. Power forward.
Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr. I couldn't think of Michael Porter Jr. name.
Yeah,
man, I'm interested to see those because I think, man, those 3 guys right there could be something, man. And
yeah.
For them, they didn't have William Barton. They didn't have him. Will Barton. They didn't have him out there, man. So I think if he would have been at that too, it would have been kind of a different story. When Gary Harris came back, he didn't score a lot, but he played some great defense. Like he stopped Donovan Mitchell from getting that one pass in. I think that was Game 7.
Game 7, yeah.
Then he poked the ball away from him at the end of the game, man. So, man, the Nuggets, that's an interesting series, man. Now, we're talking about people performing in the playoffs. One guy I want to ask you about, I know you got a lot to say about this guy. You done talked to him. Playoff P. First of all, let me say, he done gave himself his name. So, I mean, I couldn't beat him. I couldn't beat him. But the way he's playing in the playoffs, I might could. Playoff P. What do you think about Playoff P, man?
Man, I've had such a problem with Paul George over the years, and kudos to him for coming back from a horrific injury. Really,
yeah.
That man, I didn't think that he would walk again, let alone be playing basketball on a championship level team. But I don't know if he's big enough for the moments that kind of come in front of him.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the work that, especially right now, if you look at the work that Kawhi is doing, and it's Kawhi Leonard in that first round, it don't even seem like Kawhi be scoring that much. But Kawhi Leonard averaged like 32, 7, and 5. Man.
Kawhi be working.
Like 58% from the floor.
I works.
I was putting in work. And that series went 6 because Paul George never showed up. Because for most of those games, the Mavs didn't have Porzingis.
Yeah. Yep. After that
Luka is a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player.
Playoff Luka. Playoff Luka.
But at the same time, the Clippers have enough between their starting lineup and their bench. They have enough to really push past a team that doesn't have all of its pieces together.
Yeah.
Because the overtime game that they lost, Luka hit that.
Luka got that dagger. Yeah. Look at that.
They were up like 15, 20, man. Yes, so, like, at some point, you have to close the game out. And if Kawhi is going to be the closer, that's great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're paying 2 superstars.
Yeah, 2 people that's play the same exact position.
The same exact position. So for them to both be on the court together and for one of them to be almost non-factor, there's no excuse for that, man.
Paul George defers, man. He defers to Kawhi. I don't know why, but he defers to Kawhi, man. I think, man, we might have it wrong. Paul George might be a second, man. He may not be a first guy.
Yeah.
He may actually be a third. But Paul George, he may not be a first or second guy, man. Because when he went to OKC, he was playing OKC with Russell Westbrook. And guess what? He deferred to Russell Westbrook. You know what I'm saying?
It's like got waved up out of the playoffs too.
Exactly. Hey, see you later. You know, we're gonna come back with it this year, but we might have it wrong. I think we may have it wrong, man, with Playoff P, man. Like, he's a great player, but he leaves something. He leaves something. He like that. It's that meal when you eat that meal that looks good, like it's beautiful meal. You got your fried chicken now. You know what I'm saying? You got your rice. You got the meal looks good. It's like filet mignon. Let's get the fried chicken and rice out the way. You got filet mignon. You know what I'm saying? We got the mashed potatoes right there. It looks good, but then when you bite into it, you like, something missing from this.
Yep.
Something missing from this. That's what I feel when I see Paul George. I was gonna say Paul Pierce. When I see Paul George, that's what I feel. I'm like, man, something's missing. What's missing? And I think it may have been that injury, him getting injured, because before he got injured, he was killing the game. You know what I'm saying? When he put on that name Playoff P, I think that night he went and scored like 32 points or something. He went off that night, you know what I'm saying? And then that's when Carmelo Anthony was like, oh, he gave himself that name? I'm just finding that out. You know, so I think, man, Paul George may be a 2. I think he may be a 2 or 3 type player. He needs to go somewhere with a strong leader. He should have probably stayed with Chris Paul, and they brung somebody else in with them And I think they would have been a great team. That would have been a team right there. I would have been interested to see them bring somebody else in with their team